We left off Mishna Berura. He says, it has to be written like the Torah. So we spoke about Chok Tochos and Chok Yerechos. Meaning we said, like on Shabbos, if you have a blotch of ink and you chip away the ink to form the letter, that's not writing. He says, let's say, so if the Sefer Torah is written in such a manner, it's not valid. It's not valid. So the same thing with the Megillah. He says, Al-Ken Chok Tochos Poselo. The Dafka Beruba, that's only for the majority of the writing, because it's no worse than it not being written at all. It's not any worse than it was totally deleted. Okay? So there's a question, what about the parchment? Does the parchment have to be processed specifically with having in mind, it's for the sake of the writing of the Megillah? Ram means, Simin Samachalif, that has to be done. Okay.
What about if the letter is not clear and they etch away a piece of ink, or it's connected, two letters are touching, and they etch away, that's not a problem?
It's only a problem if the letters independently don't have a tzuras os. If originally it was written correctly, let's say they connected afterwards, yeah. It's okay to scrape it apart. Because there the letter was written as a letter. Okay? Thank you. Beis. Hoiso ksuval niyor. Well, or she'enim ubod. The Megillah was written on paper, or a hide that was not worked. It wasn't processed. O shksova akum apikoros. This a non-Jew writes a Megillah, or an apikoros person was a heretic. Psula. It's not valid. So if it's written on paper, it's not the right material. If it's written on a hide that was not worked, that means it's not called that. It has to be minimally, it has to be parchment. Yes. Good morning. We're holding Mishna Berura, Halacha Beis, Tofrei Tzadik Aleph, page 313. Vedino Sefer Torah. So if a non-Jew writes a Sefer Torah, it's not valid. A non-Jew writes a Megillah, or an Apikoros writes a Megillah, it's not valid. Lein Hekev Gvil. Vedino Hekev Gvil. We'll discuss Hekev Gvil in a moment. You know, every letter in Sefer Torah has to be written with parchment, has to be surrounded. Let's say a person would write a letter down to the very bottom of the parchment. Let's say you have two letters. They're attached, and each letter maintains its identity, and you have to separate them if they're touching. You have to separate the letters. It's not valid. Why isn't valid? Because even though the aleph, let's say you have an aleph, the lower leg of the aleph, there's ink that attaches it to to its adjoining letter, to a base. Okay? The aleph looks like an aleph, the base looks like a base. It's not valid. Why isn't it valid? Because the letter has to be completely surrounded with white, with parchment that has been written on. So therefore, over there, the problem is not the letter. The problem is you have to have parchment surrounding the letter, unwritten parchment. So over there, it's enough just to scrape it off. So as long as you scrape, you remove the attachment from the aleph to the base, it's valid. No, the letter has its identity. The aleph looks like an aleph, the base looks like a base. The problem is there's something attaching them. Accidentally, some ink attached, there was some additional ink attached to aleph to the base. Because you need hekef vil. Halacha l'mishum Sinai, every letter has to be fully surrounded with unwritten, without ink. Just unwritten parchment. Okay?
So the letter is comprised also with white around the letter.
That's not the letter. No, it's not. The letter's not comprised of it. The letter has to be like blatantly clear to be the letter, and it only has that level of clarity if there's white around it. V'chatotros chesin, utliya sahin v'kufin. We have he refers to the hump. If you ever take a look at a ches in the Sefer Torah, it's not written, it's not horizontal, right? It's like a hump on a camel. That's why it's called chatotros. The hump on the camel is called also chatoteres. Tliya sahin v'kufin. Right? When you have the left letter in the hay, you have to have a space between the leg and the roof of the hay, right? If they touch, it's not a valid hay, or a kuf, right? You have a kuf is comprised of what? Something that looks like a reish with a what? With a elongated, like a nun. Chol gufos, ha'osis b'tzurosim chaseris yuseris. The formation of the letters and what's supposed to be written in its full spelling or in a deleted spelling. Whatever the way it's supposed to be written, that's the way it has to be written, just like a Sefer Torah. It said when you write a Sefer Torah, you always write from a text. A person's not supposed to write from memory, a mezuzah. So when you write the Megillah, you have an existing Megillah, and the Sofer copies it from one Megillah to the other. Of course, there's a concern, you may make a mistake. Before the Sofer writes it, he looks at the word from the text, and he articulates the word, and after he pronounces the word, then he writes it to make sure that it's being written correctly. Mo b'Sefer Torah, v'osin kol parshas stumos, we'll see in a moment, and the paragraph structure in the parshas of the Megillah have to be written stumos. It's like a sealed paragraph. V'mason psuchos, if the paragraph structure is psuchos, we'll see in a moment what that means. Psu, it's not valid. Ubediavere lifso Megillah mishum chaser seseros. If a Megillah, one doesn't invalidate a Megillah if, let's say, a word should have been written with a vav, was written without a vav. Lo gormi hishmit bo hasofer osis dikshero, because it's no worse that if you have the majority of the letters, the words are there, and you have a minority of words missing. So let's say you had a word also wasn't written correctly. It's no worse than the whole word is missing. If the whole word wasn't written correctly, and that word was totally deleted, the Megillah is valid. So now that it's written with the vav deleted, even though the word may not be a valid word, so it's no worse than the word doesn't exist. Moshe's Barasin Tokri Sadik Siv Gimel. Okay, let's see the Mishna Berura before we finish the Mechaber. Linyan Hekev Gvil Al Kolos. Every letter has to be completely surrounded with unwritten parchment. Therefore, it's important that the line should be straight. Okay. Min Aksav, when he writes the Megillah, it should be written from a text. So what about somebody's reading it? Sofer is not looking at the text, but everywhere he writes, before he writes it, somebody reads it from a text, and he writes it from what he hears, and he verbalizes that, articulates that word, and then he commits it to writing. The whole idea is that he shouldn't make a mistake. What happens if factually he wrote it from memory and not from a text? That you're not permitted to use that Megillah only if the person had no choice. That's the only Megillah available. And I told you that's the famous Yerushalmi. Remeir was on a boat, and he had no Megillah. It was Purim, and Remeir was a sofer, and of course Remeir had everything committed to memory. And so what did he do? He couldn't read the Megillah from memory, because Korah Baal Peh Lo Yotza. So what did he do? He wrote a Megillah on a piece of parchment, and then he read it. So there he had no text to copy from. It was all from memory. That's, as he says here, it's Mishas Avchak. Because Remeir had no choice. That's all he could do. It is valid. It is valid. No, not valid in any circumstance. It has to be read from a text. Without a text, you're not Yotzei. Even Shas Adchak.
And what text is he reading from? What is the Sofer looking at?
Kosher Megillah. He has a Megillah.
The Sofer looks at the word to write the text.
From a Megillah. From a Megillah.
From another Megillah.
Yeah. So the question is, now it's a good question. What about if you printed Chumash? Yeah. And the Chumash is accurate, seemingly would be okay, because if the whole concern, he may make a mistake, but the question is, it must be a paragraph formation, because it says it has to be written stumos, and if it's written psuchos, it's not correct. It's possible. It's not valid. So if you write it, you copy it from a Chumash, you're not going to have it. But again, it seems over here that that's not the issue. He's going to write it correctly. Spacing, how you space it. I understand. Because it says, Mishna Berura says, even if a third party reads it from a text, it's also okay. So visually, the one who's writing is not looking into the text. He said the whole issue is he may make a mistake. So as long as he's being instructed from a text, although he's not actually reading it from the text, it's valid. Lahotzi kol teva, it says, and also before he commits it to writing, he should actually verbalize the word that he's about to write. Hainu l'chatchilo, ub'di'evet ein lahachmim lo tov. He says, factually, even if he didn't verbalize it, he committed it to writing, there's no reason to invalidate the Megillah. As long as it was written correctly, it's valid. As one writes the Sefer Torah, also the Sofer, he copies it from the text, and also before he writes it, he actually verbalizes it. It's to guarantee, l'chadchil, you should verbalize it. It's preferable because when you verbalize something, it becomes much more clear in the person's mind exactly how it has to be done. Definitely. Stumos nikri geritz. Why is the paragraph structure stumos? Because the Megillah is called the geritz. It's like a letter. Psuchas psul b'shus Moshe Mintz simir yudeis b'heim fakri kalzeh. L'chein nirali the shlis mechola b'shas adchak. Also, he says, if it wasn't written, the paragraph structure was written, it's spaced differently. It's also valid. Ubediyevet pirush shekvar korabok shein lo Megillah acheret shuch likros bo l'chatchila. What's Yudalid? Yudalid. Yeah, he says it should not. If let's say there were certain letters that were deleted, the letter was written in a deleted form, it should be written in its full form, either way it's kosher. We have Ramot just to finish up here. Of the Mechaber. Utzricha amud b'sofo, v'cholek b'rosh k'nei lakifo. No, if you ever look at the Megillah, there's always actually unwritten, there's a large piece of parchment at the beginning. Nothing's written on it, right? The Megillah doesn't start at the very beginning because it has to be enough to actually wrap the Megillah, right? The space is large enough to wrap it. V'cholek b'rosho k'nei lakifo. You need amud b'sofa, v'cholek b'ro k'nei lakifo. Yishom shetzricha tagim. It has to have the crowns on it, like in the Sefer Torah you have crowns. Yishom she'en tzricha. Agov nog letaigo. The meaning is the sofa does put tagim. Gam nogu shelasos lo amud klal b'sofa. He says, but the minig is not like the Mechaber says you should have an omud at the end, like an unwritten piece of parchment at the end. But the Ramos says, but the minig is shalasus la omud b'klal b'sofa. At the end you don't have it. In the Sefer Torah you do have it at the end. But in Megillah, the Ramos says you don't have it. Not like the Mechaber. The beginning you have it. Mishna Berura. Gam nogu shalasus avol cholak b'rosha manichem gol b'sofa t'chilosa klal hagro b'yuro b'fakvid al din lo'od. The Vilna Gaon takes issue with the Ramah. It's not simple. That just as you have the unwritten, the blank parchment at the beginning, you should have it at the end also. I don't remember if we have it. No. I'm talking the Megillah. I think the way we write on Megillah, I'm not sure. Beginning, definitely we have it. Okay. It's like a Sefer Torah. Yeah, definitely. Sefer Torah, that's the din. You have to have it.